If you want confirmation of the correctness of the Benko Gambit, take a look at the players who play it. World champion Kasparov uses the opening frequently. So do Gelfand, Adams, Fedorowicz and Hodgson. They can't all be wrong. In fact, such is the strength of Black's position in the Benko Gambit accepted that most top players today decline the Gambit. They don't regard acceptance of the Gambit pawn as a particularly practical proposition if they want to win. The Gambit is introduced by the following moves. White plays 1 d4, Black knight f6, White plays 2 c4, and Black goes 2 c5. White pushes on, 3 d5, and now Black plays 3 b7 to b5. White takes on b5, for c takes b5, and now Black plays a6, gambiting a pawn. And when White takes on a6, that's 5b takes a6, we get the typical position for the Benko Gambit accepted. Black can take on a6 immediately, but it's more accurate to play g6 first. And this is the current choice of virtually all the grandmasters who play the Gambit. That's 5 g6. White generally responds 6 knight c3, and only then does Black take on a6, having avoided some dangerous White options. Now I'm going to divide the theory into 3 major sections. In the first section, White will fianchetto his king bishop. In the second section, White will play for an early e4, and in the third section, White will try to prepare the move e4 by playing either knight f3 to d2 or f4 followed by knight f3. Take a look at this position. Black has no less than 4 lines of attack against the White pawn structure. Firstly, and most importantly, Black will attack with his major pieces on both the A and B files. He's going to put his queen on either b6 or a5, and in each case follow up with rook f to b8. There you see the Black major pieces powering down the A and B files. Added to this strong pressure on the A and B files, Black has 2 tremendous diagonals for his bishops. The a6 bishop, as you can see, is very strong, putting pressure on the e2 pawn, and Black has only to move his knight from f6. Let's put it on e8, and then you can see the bishop on g7 also has a tremendous future. So Black's operating on the A and B files with his major pieces, and his bishops are zigzagging into White's position, putting pressure on e2 and b2, the sensitive pawns. Having said that, it's not as straightforward as it seems to attack the White position. The knights have a very important role to play if Black is to mount a successful attack. Let's take all the knights off the board as an experiment and put Black's major pieces on the queenside files as indicated earlier. Now take a look at the position. I would say Black's game has improved dramatically with the exchange of all the knights, mainly because it's very difficult for White to hold his queenside together at this point. The knight on c3 was obstructing Black along the long diagonal, and Black simply got rid of it. Therefore the pressure against b2 is now very, very strong, and it's really difficult for White to hold his game together should all the knights get exchanged off the board. Black has various ways to achieve his goal of exchanging the knights. Let's see some of them. One manoeuvre from the diagram position is knight e8 to c7 and then knight to b5. That's a rather long-winded manoeuvre, but Black often employs this idea. Another idea is knight d7 to b6 and then to a4. Although in this case the bishop on a6 impedes Black a little, so presumably if Black were to go through with this knight manoeuvre, the light square bishops would have been taken off the board a little bit earlier. Finally, if we give White a couple of moves here, rook e1 and then e4, another idea for Black is to play knight f6 to g4. The point of this is that if White now plays h3, The knight drops back